So, welcome everybody to the second hour of MindShifters Radio. And today, March the 13th, 2023. And our calling number is 563-999-3581. And press 1. And that puts you into queue to talk to us. And we would love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. We'll give Michael a moment to get dialed in. And I'll just bring you quickly up to date. It's been a long weekend. Friday night we got a call from the assisted living where my dad stays, and they said he was having trouble breathing, and so we ended up taking him to the emergency room by ambulance, and 2:30 Saturday morning they decided to admit him, and they've been running tests and doing all kinds of things. The only thing we know at this point is he's got fluid in his lungs. They're doing an echogram this afternoon to see if there's fluid around his heart, and giving him breathing treatments and taking care of some skin wounds and different things, but he seems to be pretty stable right now. We just left there just a few moments ago. So thank you for your continued prayers and love sent our way. Aria went with us the other night. I guess it was Saturday. She was over there, and she wanted to feed him. And so I asked his dad, I said, is it okay if she feeds you? And he's like, yeah. His hands are so drawn in, he can't hold a utensil. And so she fed him his whole meal, and she kept saying, can I give him the dessert? And I said, no, he needs to eat some vegetables first. Give him another bite. And she'd say, is that enough? Can he have his dessert? I think it was all projection. She wanted the dessert. But anyway, he ate really good for her. And then the nurses were great with her. They let her help when they were giving him a breathing treatment and listening to his lungs, and they even gave her a stethoscope, and so she thought she was just really flying high there. But anyway, just continue to hold us in the space, and we just take it day at a time. One of my brothers is coming in tomorrow, so it'd be good to be with him. I may have to play a show tomorrow. We'll see, depending on what time he gets here. But anyway, a few things have been added to the website. You can either go under the latest news. You can go under newsletters. If you're on our mailing list, you should have gotten a newsletter about 11:15 last night that we sent out. And still looking at Heartland. Coach joined us now, so I'll turn it over to him.
Awesome, sweetie. Thank you. And welcome, everybody. We are honored and delighted to be here one more time to share these tools and to open the space for deeper and deeper levels of understanding of these awesome principles of forgiveness and how to use the tools that we've got to move past the insanity of hostility, fear, judgment, blame, guilt, all the games that the non-being mind play, how to move past those things and move into a new space that's kind of a wordless space. And I had something yesterday that had motivated me to open. Well, actually, before I go into that, let me just check. Jeanie, do we have anybody in the phone queue or anything happening in the chat room?
Nope, it is all quiet. There's a couple hands up, but I believe both of them were with Dr. Tim, Belinda and Magda. I believe when I first signed on that they had already been talking to him, but I can check with them.
Let's go for it. We haven't heard from Magda in a while.
Okay.
So, Linda,
alrighty.
I did hear the end of her conversation.
Magda, 828. Have you already had your talk, or can we support you?
Oh, yeah, I'm complete. I just would like to add my prayers and concern for your dad and how things proceed there, and hold you all in a blessing. And Michael, I want to tell you that I'm so glad you got to spend some time with your former wife at the point of time when I'm sure her spirit really, really appreciated you being there and being able to finish up some things, whatever that was.
Yeah, I felt very blessed that she honored me sufficiently. You know, she had lingered for quite some time, and that she allowed me to be there during her passing, which was very peaceful, very quiet. And after quite a bit of trauma, she'd been through a lot with kidney failure and all, and so it was awesome to be there for her. Her brother came. I haven't seen her brother. He used to live with us when the kids were young, and I haven't seen him in 30-plus years. So it was good to connect with him and spend a little bit of time with him. And, of course, Michael and Jamie. The main reason for going out was just to support them and CJ and what was, imminent, that they knew she was getting ready to pass. And, of course, I got just all kinds of this awesome baby time. So that was pretty sweet. Feeling blessed by it all.
And Avery came down, and he got double blessed.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's great. That's so great. Well, excellent. So I'm just going to listen and play with my orchids here. And
well, have fun.
Yeah, you have a blessed day, okay?
It's in the plan. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, lovely. Signing off, and you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Shall we do a quick check-in with Felinda and say hello? I've lost your voice, Jeanie.
Hello. Are you there?
Hey there. Welcome. I can hear you.
Okay. I hadn't expected to. I had just gotten off the queue so you could go on with your show, so I hadn't expected you to call.
Oh, okay. Well,
but that's
we
fine.
can just say hello and send blessings.
Well, that, and I echo Magda's sentiments completely, and thank you for being able to go be with your family at that time of passing. I also will hold your father up, Jeanie, and your daddy also, Michael. And I had an interesting thing happen this morning on my iPhone, and I'm going to find out. I'll ask you first. All of a sudden, on your contact, this Heartland came up right under your name with a great big red asterisk by it, emergency contact. So that's really weird. I don't know if I pushed
Am I an emergency contact for you now?
I don't think so.
That's interesting.
But so I.
Well, if you have any emergencies, you make sure to contact us.
Okay, I will. I'll contact Apple support, and I'm sure they can tell me because I probably pushed a button or something. So very good. But carry on.
All right.
With your part. And
you have a
blessed
blessed one.
Much. You
all right.
Also. Bye-bye.
Nobody else has a hand up, so go for it.
Cool. So I was starting to say that I had been doing some research for a question that came up, and came across a section from A Course in Miracles called the Clarification of Terms Introduction. And there's just some interesting information there that I felt deserved repeating and focusing on to put the Course in actually virtually any other form of writing in place. And so I'd just like to kind of cover those, the clarification of terms. So it starts out and says, this is not a course in philosophical speculation, nor is it concerned with precise terminology. It is concerned only with atonement or the correction of perception. So atonement and the correction of perception are one. And so to recognize that atonement is the return to or the recovery of the state of being, the state of who we are as human beings, and how a really important piece of that puzzle is the concern and the connectedness with truth. So the whole idea is to the Course, and all the work we do, is to enter into relationship with and honor truth. And it's interesting how we can sacrifice truth because the perceptual constructs of our mind say something different. And if we are hooked into being right with our perceptual constructs rather than going for truth, then we're in trouble. So when we give up our desire, our longing, our willingness to honor and engage truth, what we really give up is our very souls, that state of being, who we are. And by doing that, we voluntarily enter into the only hell that exists in all of creation. And that's a self-created state void of the fact of love. That we are the created essence of love. And to recognize that the only function of words in this process is really to give us directions in how to heal our minds and to make clear the falsity of what happens with words. So, and it's interesting, I'm connected on Facebook with several Course in Miracles groups. And it's interesting to read people's posts. And most of the posts are trying to convince people that the words that are being used are true. Ah, here's the truth. I know the truth. As opposed to the only thing that words are good for is directions on how to forgive. And I'm kind of shocked at how rarely, as I say, I'm connected with several Course in Miracles groups, how rarely anybody, and they'll have posts that are, paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs, ever suggests forgiveness or ever engages in forgiveness. And so the correction of perception and the means of doing that in this clarification of terms is very clearly stated. The means of doing that is forgiveness. Forgiveness, once again, not being about how I'm going to let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me, but the removal of what never belonged. It goes on to say the structure of individual consciousness, and they've got those two words in quotes, is essentially irrelevant because it is a concept representing the original error, or what one might call the original sin. That when we live in this separateness, there is not even any language to represent our true state. So if we get stuck in that I'm separate, it leaves us, you've heard me say before in the realm of healing, that the study of health is far more profitable than the study of disease. This particular lesson goes on and says, to study the error itself does not lead to correction, if you are indeed to succeed in overlooking the error. And it's just this process of overlooking at which the Course aims. One of the posts that kind of inspired this I'd come across, and Ken Wapnick, who was one of the original teachers of the Course, put forward that Helen, the woman who brought the Course into existence, said to him at one point that this Course was only for 5 or 6 people. Meaning that who's going to understand it? Who's going to apply it? And so people take that whole text and want to make a philosophy out of it. And as the opening words in this particular chapter said, this is not a course in philosophical speculation. It's a set of directions for how to return to the truth of who we are, and to do that through forgiveness. And it just amazes me that maybe in 3 or 4 years of interacting with different course groups, I've maybe seen once or twice that somebody suggests forgiveness. Otherwise, it's, this, just words upon words upon words upon words. And the only real meaning for words, well, you'll remember we've quoted the lesson before on words. It says that you utilize the words of the world of darkness, that is the world where people live in perception. Perception being a construct of the mind. Remember the lesson, what is the world? The world is false perception. It is born of error. The world between our ears, the constructs of our mind, is false perception. And so the object of the words is to show you how to collapse false perception, to get back to and to remove the separate perceptual constructs. You know, if we listen to Einstein, he says, if you think you're separate or separated from the rest of humanity, you're living in an optical delusion. So the whole idea of forgiveness is, and of words, is to free us from the optical delusion and come to an experience of who we are. Not to figure out life and be able to explain it to anybody. If you think back, you go back and, you know, if you were to listen to the last 12 years of radio shows, you'd find that the majority of the conversation is supporting and assisting people in recognizing that the construct of their mind isn't true. That's one of the biggest uses for words is, okay, so that's not the truth. So this lesson goes on and says, all terms are potentially controversial, and those who seek controversy will find it. And here's a big key, and it ties into goals. You remember the Course talks about the distorting power of the way you want it to be. Those who seek clarification will find it as well. So people can go for controversy. Depends what their goals are. But if what you're really looking for is clarification, then that's going to come. This particular chapter says, they must, however, be willing to overlook controversy, recognizing that it is a defense against the truth in the form of a delaying maneuver. So to recognize what is false and to uncover the truth of who we are. Theological considerations as such are necessarily controversial since they depend on belief and can therefore be accepted or rejected. A universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible but necessary. What's the universal experience? To experience yourself as a universal being. It's been called, being in that state has been called cosmic consciousness, where all of a sudden you don't buy into the separateness that the constructs of your mind show you, but rather that you recognize the oneness, the connectedness of it all, and there's no way to talk about it. You know, a couple thousand years ago, they said, yes, oh, there are so many things we want you to tell us. Oh, question, yes, yeah, and there are so many things I would like to tell you, but you can't hear it. It can't be spoken in words. So what the Course is aiming for is to create a wedge in perception by knowing how to collapse it any moment, especially if it's based in some form of hostility or fear, but even what we call positive constructs of the mind, to collapse them, to open a space for a direct experience of who we are. And it goes on to say here, it is this experience toward which the Course is directed. Here alone consistency becomes possible, because here alone uncertainty ends. The Course remains within the ego framework. So, you know, we hear people trying to take the Course and make it, oh, here's the truth, here's the truth. No, there's no truth. There's no truth there. It is not concerned with what is beyond all error, because it is planned only to set forth a direction towards it. Therefore, the Course, this is like so profound, therefore the Course uses words which are symbols and cannot express what lies beyond symbols. So perception is a symbol. Words describing our perception are symbols of symbols. So the Course uses words, but they're just symbolic. And the symbols can't go beyond the symbols. It can't tell you the truth, but it can give you directions, and it can help you to dissolve what the lie is. It is merely the ego that questions, because it is only the ego that doubts. The Course merely gives another answer once a question has been raised. However, the answer does not attempt to resort to inventiveness or ingenuity. These are attributes of the ego. The Course is simple. It has one function and one goal. Only in that does it remain wholly consistent, because only that can be consistent. So we're not looking in any way, shape, or form to tell you the truth. It's never going to be found in words. It's just not possible. Because all words do is give you symbols. So the ego will demand many answers that this Course does not give. It does not recognize as questions the mere form of a question to which an answer is impossible. So the ego asks, and it's interesting, people often go to extremes. And, that old question of how many angels can dance on the head of a pin is irrelevant. It's not about angels dancing on the head of a pin, but that's one of the impossible questions that keeps people out of really truly doing their work. And again, recognize that a few minutes ago the Course said here, the Course is all part of the ego world. So the ego asks, how did the impossible occur? To what did the impossible happen? And may ask this in many forms, yet there is no answer, only an experience. Seek only this, and do not let theology delay you. So to always head back to looking at what's the construct in my mind that takes me out of love? How do I collapse that and get back to the direct connectedness, the direct experience of the presence of love? And how do I create relationships with the people around me to bring that about when the ego goes, oh, but hey, I've got an impossibility for you. Let's go with this one. And or wants to go for controversy. So you'll notice that the emphasis on structural issues in the Course is brief and early. In other words, we're going to get that out of the way. I've given this all the meaning it has for me. Oh, so my mind is structuring a reality, and I'm trying to pretend that the reality's out there. I need to recognize the reality's in here, and then recognize that everything that's in here that comes from my mind is false. Again, go back to that lesson, what is the world? The world is false perception. It is born of error. It has not left its source. It will remain no longer than the thought that gave it birth is cherished. So it starts out with some of that structural stuff, and then it says afterwards, and soon, it drops away to make for the central teaching. Since you've asked for clarification, however, these are some of the terms that are used. And so, purpose of the Course, clarification, to simply give us the tools to collapse perception and to understand when our minds are lying to us. To do the work of removing all the lies, no matter what they're based on, no matter how many generations of pain or trauma or what have you occur, to remove what never belonged. And what never belonged, any form of hostility or fear. So the term mind is used to represent the activating agent of spirit, supplying its creative energy. When the term is capitalized, it refers to the Creator, or the mind of Christ, the mind of God, the mind of love. Spirit is the thought of the Creator, which He created like Himself. The unified Spirit is God's one Son, or Christ. So many people want to think of a particular man linked to this word Christ, and they have no understanding that that word is not a proper noun. It is not a name. It's actually the word used to represent a title. If I were to run for mayor, people might call me Mayor Michael if I won. But mayor isn't part of my name, as Christ is not part of a name. It's simply an office. It simply represents the awakened state. In this world of false perception, because the mind is now split, we seem to be separate. Minds do not seem to be joined. In this illusory state, the concept of an individual mind seems to be meaningful. It is therefore described in the Course as if it had two parts, spirit and ego. There is a part of our minds that is connected to the mind of love continuously. And we live in that part. We see the other part as well. In the Course, the term soul is not used except in direct biblical quotations because of its highly controversial nature. It would, however, be the equivalent of spirit, with the understanding that being of the Creator is eternal and was never born. Part of the mind is entirely illusory and makes only illusions. So this device that constructs the world we see, we don't see through the eyes. The eye is an energy receiver. Light comes into the eye. You can't see out of it. You've never seen anything with your eyes. But information comes in, and according to the information that comes in and what it stimulates in you, your mind generates this whole construct called perception. Now, in order to get something out of the mind, obviously it had to be there. If it was there, then it must be from the past. So all perception is a reflection of the past. How do you live in the present if you're stuck in the past? Here's how you do it. You collapse perception. And it's interesting how the world has turned the tool for doing that into, I'm going to let you off the hook because this pain is moving in me, rather than I'm going to collapse the construct based in unresolved pain so that I can come into direct contact with the pain as love and dissolve the pain. So it's an interesting dichotomy. Recognizing that perception is a construct, and of course all words are based in the perceptions we have in common. Perceptions are symbols. There's another passage in the Course that talks about you live by symbols. To everything you give a name and separate it from the rest. And so the line in the Course that represents the how-to of forgiveness is the way that you collapse that world of perception. If you look at the worksheet, that's all the worksheet is about. Especially when you're in pain, but even when you're in joy, to collapse that world and drop into the truth of who we are. Which means all you have to do is give up your whole past. how do you collapse the constructs that come from the mind based in the past, based in what's stored within? Well, there's a simple line in the Course that describes exactly how forgiveness is done. And it's interesting, in 40 years plus of working with the Course, I've never found one person who's found a definition of forgiveness or the how to do it. There's all kinds of conversation, but how do you do it? I believe it's Workbook Lesson 340, paragraph 8, if I remember correctly. Let go all the things you think you want. Your trifling treasure put away, and leave a clean and open space within your mind for love to appear, and dissolve, forgive, remove the energetic patterns that never belonged. This is forgiveness a la first century Aramaic Yeshua. Interesting, in the Aramaic language, the word shabag or shabak has been translated as forgive, but what it means is to cancel. Let go all the things you think you want. Recognize that your goals drive the perceptual constructs of your mind. And if the perceptual construct of your mind has you in some form of fear or hostility or irritation or upset or joy, then you're living out of the past. Even if the perceptual construct seems to be wonderful ones. And we're willing to give that up, something unspeakable happens. And to trust that is a challenge for the mind that wants to figure everything out and be in control of everything. So there's an interesting dichotomy there, and I hope that resonates a few brain cells for everybody and stimulates some conversation. So they're my thoughts for today, and I'm open for some questions, answers, support needed. What's on your mind? Our call-in number, if you're on one of those stations where we can't see you on our control panel, is 563-999-3581. 563-999-3581. If you call that number, you're listening to the show directly, and then if you push 1, I raise a hand in the control panel, and we're going to have a conversation. What's on your mind? How can we support you? Any thoughts for you, Jeanie?
No. But you did have a hand just go up, and it's Miss Linda. So you're on the air.
Let's go for it. Hey, young lady. I haven't talked to you in so long.
I know. It's forever and always.
I mean, it's been minutes.
I know. I just had a quick question to ask you. Since you so graciously sent me back the Course in Miracles, and I am sitting on it, hatching it until I'm ready to read it. Where was that in one of the 3 books that you sent back to me?
Yes. Yeah, there's a section on the clarification of terms.
And is that in the big book? The big volume?
I believe it's in the teacher's manual.
Okay, cool.
I've got it digitally in front of me, so mechanically I'm not sure. But if you look in the teacher's manual, let's see, you've got the all-in-one book,
I've
right?
got all 3. No,
okay,
it's in 3 different books.
The 3, okay. So go to the teacher's manual and clarification of terms in the introduction, and that's where you'll find it.
Cool, because it was really, really helpful. I'm so glad you read it. Thank you so much.
Sweet. Awesome.
And that's it.
Anything else exciting or on your mind?
Well, isn't it exciting enough? Yes, there is something. Both shows again today. Is there any chance that they, at the end of the show, if you could reflect on your show and see if those shows, both Dr. Tim's and yours, could be put in a special place? Maybe they were only helpful for me, and at the same time they might be helpful for someone else. A special place on the website.
Okay, well, Jeanie will put that request into the hopper and see how it fits.
All right. So I figured if you went back and listened to it, or if you had any reflections and it felt meaningful to you, especially, that it could go in that special podcast section, whatever area on the website it would fit best, both of them, maybe individually, cool. Because it is a bunch to listen to both hours all at once with all the good
right.
information
and
insights given. All right. Perfect.
Now, if you go to, let's see, what's the name of the podcast program? iHeartRadio. If you go to the iHeartRadio app and download it.
iHeartRadio? How do you spell
iHeartRadio. iHeart. Just the letter I.
Okay, good.
The letter I and the word heart, one word, iHeartRadio.
Okay.
If you download that, then when you go to one thing that's a benefit of that is it shows you all of our shows back to the beginning. Some apps will only do something like 300 shows, but they'll show you all 5,000, 4,000, however many are there. And then when you open one of the shows, you can fast forward through it so you don't have to listen to, if you decide, oh, boy, that part Dr. Tim did at about the 15-minute point, so you can just slide it and go to 15-minute point and listen to that.
Oh, cool. All right. Thank you.
Other apps don't allow that, or some, I don't know what other apps might or might not, but I know that one does, and several of them do not.
So iHeartRadio is an app then?
Yes. If you go to your app store, type in iHeartRadio, you'll see the app.
Oh, and also if you're on the computer on the website where it shows like our Facebook, it's also got iHeart up there, as well as YouTube and all of those. You can just do a one-click there, too, if you're on your computer.
Oh, right on the top where you have contacts and everything else?
If you're on the website, up at they're really small, at least on my computer, but it's up there, next to where it says Contact Us. There's Facebook and Vimeo and YouTube, and then there's iHeart.
Oh, that's right. I've seen it. Okay, not iHeart, but I've seen the other. Okay, perfect. That's great. Thank you. And I think I'm complete again. Someone else come on.
All right.
We
have another hand up.
Okay, good. Bye-bye.
So this one, I think, is Joe, 864. You're on the air. Hi.
Hey, guys.
Welcome, good sir.
Outstanding. Glad to be here.
Outstanding in your field?
Outstanding in left field. Just remember, it's always left. That's where your left or center is where I'm most comfortable. I never played right, but anyway. Claire, you had shared look at the development of trust with me, and I wanted to follow up.
Yes.
I pull it up, and it's Teacher's Manual, Development of Trust, in Section 4. The first question is, it talks about it is only to the extent to which they are helpful that any degree of reality should be accorded them in the world of illusion. And here's where the word value, it's in quotations, can apply to nothing else. Okay, that's one kind of thought that I have, like, okay, what is that trying to say? Number 6, he speaks about transfer value. Now comes a period of settling down. This is quiet time in which the teacher of God rests a while in reasonable peace. Now he consolidates his learning. Now he begins to see the transfer value of what he has learned. And then down the bottom at number 8, I'm getting all the way down there. And he says, full transfer. He talks about, so, and finally there's a period of achievement, and then you jump down. Indeed, the tranquility is their result, the outcome of honest learning, consistently of thought, and full transfer. So what's popping for me is this transfer, value and transfer. What's your thoughts?
Well, my thought would be that, the Course talks about only active love is true. And so if, let's say I'm in a big conflict situation and all of a sudden I cancel a goal, my perception collapses, and I get to see, oh my God, I made this whole structure up about this situation that I thought was out there, and when I dropped it, I saw that, oh my God, that was just a reflection of something that happened to me when I was 3, and now I've got the memory of what happened at 3, and when I look at that and realize how insane it was to go, that out there is the problem right now today, when I'm 42,
mm-hmm.
and I get that construct was just a reflection of something earlier, then the transfer value is tomorrow afternoon when, something triggers full-blown mania in me, full-blown insanity, and I can stop and go, oh yeah, I remember yesterday when I believed some of this crap, and then I saw what was beneath it. The transfer value is, I know this is insane too. And I don't have to get lost in it. So it's like, before forgiveness, when one of these big issues, the old trauma and pain, the fear, oh my God, I'm going to get hurt, comes up and grabs you by the face and sucks you right in, it's like each time you do one of those pieces of work where you get the full-blown truth of, this construct in my mind was false. It's like, if you imagine your hand is wide open and it's covering your face and it's locked in on the facial tissue and it's squeezing and just sucking you into itself. Each time that transfer value comes, it's like, boop, you loosen another finger, you loosen another finger, you loosen until it can't suck you in anymore. Yeah, I got this. This is another one of those illusions. I got it. I believed in this one for so long, but the transfer value of what I saw yesterday, and that's one of the reasons when they said to Yeshua, or my take at least, when they said to Yeshua, how many worksheets do we have to, how many times do we need to forgive our brother, as to our brother, actually it says, is 7 times enough? And Yeshua says, no, 77 times 70. And he's saying that you're going to collapse those perceptions until they become weak enough that they can't suck you in anymore. And once you get that direct experience one time, that will assist you in loosing yourself of every other. That's the transfer value. And that's the only thing that's valuable in the game of healing. And it's literally, the whole process is about giving up a whole world.
One piece at a time.
What are you giving it up for? It's usually one piece at a time, yes. And what are you giving that world up for? To experience yourself as your created essence, rather than with all the conditioning, all the brainwashing, all the overlays, all the drama and all the trauma that have sucked in 1,000 generations of your bloodline and are stored within your structure. And so it's like once the fingers start to loosen and you get a little, coconut oil on them, they slip off the face much faster and can't suck you in so deeply, which means that instead of, she looks at me and up comes my trauma, and I go, and I can slip that off and I can go, oh, here's another layer of my insanity. Oh yeah. My mind wants to construct it that what she said, but what I realize is this is my work to do. And that's the transfer value.
She says to me, or someone says to me, what, are you making fun of me? And right there is where what? No, I'm not making fun of you.
Are you accusing me?
Well, I don't even go there because it's like the upset that I feel is like is, wait a minute, I'm never upset for the reason I think, so just be quiet. Go to the
That's transfer value.
Right.
That's
so
transfer value. I'm never upset for the reason I think.
Yeah. And then you just let it, it's almost this tremendous silence because there's nothing better than being quiet, because I was not going to engage in this banter of, are you making fun of me, when, no, that's not it at all. And any conversation after that is just fruitless.
And what that sounds like is a forgiveness process, a worksheet on being blamed.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did it go when your power person blamed you? That's what needs to be forgiven now.
Yeah, here it comes again. I'm being blamed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the Course is really clear. You're innocent. That's all. You've always been innocent.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but you didn't see the crazy crap I've done. I'm not innocent. Oh, okay, well, claim your guilt, argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. Or you could just give it up,
You don't know the weird shit I've done.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I do, because we've all done it. We've all done it. Nobody, that's one of the games of the ego. Oh, mine's the worst you'll ever see.
Oh, yeah.
I'm alone in my suffering because I'm different. It's like, no, everybody's doing the same crap.
Yeah, anyway, it just struck me as jumping out of full transfer. In other words, full use of, in other words, engaging the tool of forgiveness, of the letting go.
Exactly. Once you see a hole in the mind's game, nothing it says will ever quite convince you so deeply in its stories again.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one particular worksheet that I did. This goes back some time ago, and as I did that process, I dropped into a memory and could see that all I was doing was replaying that memory as a picture put into my brain's image of the person that I was in interaction with.
Right.
And that one experience for me is one of those, the transfer value. It's like, oh yeah, when my mind wants to convince me, I can remember that. Oh yeah, that it wasn't true then, it's not true now, but it appears to be. So I'm going to just loosen the fingers on my face, put a little more coconut oil on them, and let it slide off, and live
I don't know where you
as a
get
human
this
being.
coconut oil. What's going on with that? Coconut oil? Huh.
Oh yeah, it's nice and slippery, and if you put it on your fingers, you can't hold onto your face for long.
You need
Jojoba, that's another good one. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Jeanie made we grew some lemongrass, bee balm, an herb called bee balm this summer, and she made an oil out of it that is the finest, sweetest salve I've ever seen. It's just amazing. It's just simple bee balm out of the garden.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, maybe when you get up here to do that creeper trail, we'll give you a jar.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I appreciate the offer. I'm going to put that on the agenda. I'm going out to Arizona, or we are going out to Arizona. My friend Susan and I, who experienced that whole Sedona thing.
Oh, cool. Sedona's a cool town.
But, yeah, that's what I've heard. What else? Anything else? That's
awesome.
it, I guess, for me. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, I join you in the development of trust.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeanie.
And then what you'll do is you'll be willing to give up perception. And then you'll be willing to give up memories. And then human life starts.
Yeah.
The real thing.
Yeah. And amen.
And a woman.
Ta-da! And there he is.
All right, my friend, you have a blessed one.
Mike.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So, Miss Jeanie, we've got about 10 minutes left, so we've got to have another hand up to work through this time and have a conversation. So who's next? Who's in line? Who's got their hand up?
Right now, nobody. So
No,
press
not
one.
everybody at once, though. Not everybody at once. Yeah.
So if you're on our mailing list, you should have gotten an email from us last night, our newsletter. If you didn't get it, you're not on the mailing list, please drop me a line at Jeanie, Jeanie, @whyagain.org, and give me your name, phone number, email address, and I'll put you on our mailing list. And I saw a hand just now go up. I believe it's Ann, 760. You're on the air.
Hey there, folks.
Welcome,
yes.
young lady.
Along with Magda and Celinda, holding a space there for your dad, and it was great to hear about your connecting with the other side of your family. Okay, so I'll probably have to go back and listen to it earlier, but when you were talking and doing their monologue, I can't remember if you said how did you phrase that?
Well, it's interesting in the Aramaic language, the way the Greeks translate it, we hear Yeshua saying, forgive your brother. In Aramaic, it doesn't say that. There are two little words in that sentence, and I can remember when this didn't quite make sense to me. But in Aramaic, wherever the instruction seems to be given to forgive somebody else, it says forgive as to your brother. In other words, if you're my brother or my sister, and you do something that brings something up in me, I don't forgive you. I forgive as to what you brought up in me. And I free myself from that. So that's about freeing ourselves from the past. And when you start recognizing, like, most everybody we work with is totally an early adopter. Like, who of us can look back at our parents or aunts or uncles or cousins or brothers or sisters that had any idea inner work of forgiveness and how to shift from this outer focus, from early childhood. What did everybody do? They taught us to focus out there.
Right.
And who taught us after, showing us to focus out there, because of course we want this little one's attention, who taught us then how to go back in and be aware of the inner realm? And that's exactly, it's awesome to watch Aria. She's 4. And we'll say it's time to meditate, and she'll sit down and close her eyes and put her hands on her legs and just get totally and completely quiet and goes inside.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's talking about removing those generational traumas.
Okay, so which is what the wake-up sheet is doing. So instead of me staring it as forget or let go of, I like, and I've probably heard it before, but it's sinking in better, freeing myself from it. So I'm not taking away what happened, because it did happen, but it's not right now. It's not in the present. So freeing myself from it is what I'm doing when I'm canceling the goal, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So to forgive from your heart is to remove from your unconscious.
Right.
Now the Greeks came on and said, no, it's to blame somebody else and let them off the hook for it. So the inward direction totally disappeared. It's like, keep us out there, keep us out. Oh, there are rules. You need to, if you don't do it, then you're going to get punished and blah, 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 blah. And as opposed to go inside and become acquainted with the inner world, especially becoming conscious of the thought disorders that have perhaps gone on in your bloodline for 1,000 generations and are the root and the cause of your pain. And it's so habituated in us, in our family systems and in our culture, that it seems like a foolish idea until you start to do it. And then there comes a point where the whole game changes.
Right, and then when it's kept quiet, or you don't understand what your feelings are, and that's passed on, that we don't talk about feelings, or we don't know how to talk about feelings. Okay. So when you were talking with Joe, when I was looking at the wake-up sheet, it's like, at the top right corner, at least the version I have still, forgiveness. So when you were talking about transfer, it just seemed to fit right in here. The forgiveness, the tool for waking up from and changing my reality. So I'm waking up from there and I'm changing it to here.
Exactly.
Okay. I think when those would go back to rereading the whole sheet again, that I need to go back to that habit. Well, clearly it wasn't a habit because I didn't keep doing it. Go back to that practice and make it more of a habit, because then I'm reminded of those principles at the top to help me with the rest of this wake up. So, okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool. And in conjunction with the earlier lesson that I read, words are symbols, so now we just use words for their real purpose. Oh, here's how you use the tool. Rather than, let me tell you the truth about this, which words can never do. One of the chapters in the book, and why is this happening to me again, remember, is words could never say.
Because it's all about our perception. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. One more.
Sweet. Awesome.
All right. Blessings.
All right.
All right.
Strength to strength. All right. Appreciate you.
Amen. All right. Amen.
All right. So it looks like we may have 2 or 3 minutes, and in that 2 or 3 minutes, I'm just going to say that we're working toward a 16-day food, fun, forgiveness, and work program at Heartland this summer. We're not 100% sure on it yet, and probably a 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again intensive, and perhaps teachers training. So if you're interested in those things, drop Jeanie a note. If you didn't get our newsletter, drop Jeanie a note, and she'll get a copy of it to you. It's a really important one. We've had a lot of profound and powerful experiences with a device that we've talked about on the show several times called the Avison. And so I went in and I did a whole, there are, 8 or 10 videos, like some really deep explanation and some deep education on physiology in this energy system and how to vitalize it to remove trauma-based patterns. And so if you don't have that newsletter in your inbox, drop Jeanie a note, JEANIE at WHYagain.org. In the meantime, have the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. Blessings.